Tonight in News Extra, the man who committed what may be the crime of the century. His name is John Wayne Gacy, convicted of killing 33 innocent people and destroying hundreds of lives. He's never talked to anyone about the case until tonight. His murder spree was first discovered on a cold December day when the first of his victims were found in the crawl space beneath his home. They were taken out one by one as the world watched. For 13 years, Gacy refused to talk. But tonight, he's breaking that silence, walking out from death row in Menard State Prison to speak one-on-one with Channel 2's Walter Jacobson. Walter is here now to tell us what Gacy had to say in an exclusive interview. Walter.
Quite a bit. Well, I spent 2.5 hours with John Gacy listening to a whole new story about his case. He was rambling and often inconsistent, but always very cagey. 13 years ago, he told the police how he murdered his victims. Now he's telling me he never did.
John Wayne Gacy, often called the Killer Clown, was one of the worst serial killers in U.S. history, murdering at least 33 young male victims. John Wayne Gacy was an American serial killer and rapist who took the lives of at least 33 young males in Cook County, Illinois, burying most under his house. Other bodies were recovered from the nearby Des Plaines River. Sometimes known as the Killer Clown for his habit of dressing in a clown costume and makeup, Gacy had an abusive childhood and struggled with his homosexuality. After being convicted of sexual assault in 1968, Gacy's murders were discovered. Gacy was born on March 17, 1942, in Chicago, Illinois. The son of Danish and Polish parents, Gacy and his siblings grew up with an alcoholic father who would beat the children with a razor strap if they were perceived to have misbehaved. His father physically assaulted Gacy's mother as well. Gacy's sister Karen would later say that the siblings learned to toughen up against the beatings, and that Gacy would not cry. Gacy suffered further alienation at school, unable to play with other children due to a congenital heart condition that was looked upon by his father as another failing. He later realized he was attracted to men, and experienced great turmoil over his sexuality. Gacy worked as a fast food chain manager during the 1960s and became a self-made building contractor and Democratic precinct captain in the Chicago suburbs in the 1970s. Well liked in his community, Gacy organized cultural gatherings and was active in political organizations and the JC Civic Group. He was married and divorced twice and had 2 biological children, in addition to 2 stepdaughters. Gacy was a member of a Chicago area Jolly Joker Clown Club and frequently performed in clown attire and makeup at children's parties, charity fundraisers and other events as his alter egos Pogo the Clown or Patches the Clown. The Killer Clown sometimes lured his victims with the promise of construction work or some other ruse, and then captured, sexually assaulted, tortured and eventually strangled most of them with his hands or with rope. Years later, during a conversation with detectives, while he was under surveillance, Gacy discussed his work as a clown, remarking, "Clowns can get away with murder." In 1968, Gacy was convicted of sexually assaulting 2 teen boys and given a 10-year prison sentence. He was released on parole in the summer of 1970 but was arrested again the following year after another teen accused Gacy of sexual assault. The charges were dropped when the boy didn't appear during the trial. By the middle of the 1970s, 2 more young males accused Gacy of rape, and he would be questioned by police about the disappearances of others. Gacy referred to this period of his life as his cruising years, when he committed most of his murders. On December 11, 1978, 15-year-old Robert Piest went missing. It was reported to police that the boy was last seen by his mother at a drugstore where he worked before he headed out to meet Gacy to discuss a potential construction job. 10 days later, a police search of Gacy's house in Norwood Park, Illinois, uncovered evidence of his involvement in numerous crimes, including murder. It was later discovered that Gacy had committed his first known killing in 1972, taking the life of 16-year-old Timothy McCoy after luring the youth to his home. After a lengthy period of police surveillance and investigation, and the discovery of several trenches filled with human remains in the crawl space beneath his house, Gacy eventually confessed to killing about 30 people. Over the years, there have been lingering concerns that Gacy may have been responsible for the deaths of other people whose bodies have yet to be found. And when police uncovered human remains in Gacy's house in 1978, 8 bodies could not be identified. More recently, Cook County authorities used DNA evidence to identify Gacy's unidentified victims. In 2017, one of those men, victim number 24, was identified as 16-year-old James Jimmy Byron Hawkinson. In 1976, Hawkinson left his home in St. Paul, Minnesota, and traveled to Chicago to begin life in the city. On August 5th, he called his mother to let her know he had arrived. However, police believe Gacy killed him shortly thereafter. In 1979, Hawkinson's mother had contacted authorities to find out if her son was one of Gacy's victims, but she didn't have dental records and the department lacked sufficient resources to identify him as a victim. Hawkinson's mother died in the early 2000s, but other family members provided DNA samples in 2017, and authorities made an immediate match to victim number 24.